Sorry, oh.
Hi guys, so today is Democracy Day, very significant day for Nigeria, but unfortunately it was overshadowed by a troubling and quite frankly embarrassing moment by Tinubu as Nigerian president decided to steal the spotlight for himself in a way.
The special guest of honor and reviewing officer for today's historic occasion, His Excellency President Ashua.
Tinubu also made some errors in our new national anthem, by the way. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll explain that to you. But first I want to talk about the top trending story for today. As you can see, Tinubu suffered a nasty fall during the June 12 commemoration. This once again is starting to raise another round of concerns for his health. Or maybe he was just trying to copy the president of America, who knows. But unlike President Biden, who usually stumbles when he's doing strenuous activity, like biking, running up the stairs, or like plane running, Tinubu fell while he was trying to mount the back of a parade car. And what makes it more concerning is that it looks like he lost control of his legs before the fall. Like he knew he was going to fall before he actually fell, and he was trying to hold on to something on the way down. And some people are saying like maybe he tripped on his clothes, like his agbada, but I don't know how that's possible when like you can visibly see him gathering his agbada before climbing the steps. Like that's even what makes it look more incredulous. From the video, it looks like they took every precaution before climbing the car, but obviously didn't turn out too well for him. And to add even more embarrassment, it seems like they were announcing his presence as he was falling, and it looks like the person that was announcing didn't know that he fell, so or was like just continued announcing even though he fell.
The special guest of honor and reviewing officer for today's historic occasion, His Excellency President Ashua.
People's Gazette is reporting that Tinubu actually hit his head on the floor of the vehicle, which is that's just diabolical reporting. Although they did say that they tried reaching out to the presidency to ask if Tinubu was fine and they declined to comment. But I hope this video actually clears doubts as to the state of Tinubu's health, because for some reason there seems to be some Nigerians that believe that Tinubu is very okay, like health-wise is very fine, and he's pretending to not be well, like he's pretending to be ill. They did it to win the election, which is ridiculous if you think about it. Like I already covered this in a past video. In fact, I systematically broke down all of his appearances during the campaign on this channel and showed you why his health was declining, the signs that his health was declining, but still people still choose to believe. Because during the campaign we had unfettered access to President Tinubu because he was running for office and he had to make all these appearances. And now that he is president, you don't actually see him as much, so you can't make that conclusion that he pretended then and he's very okay now. Maybe this will put that to rest. And this kind of links to a lot of the issues that the country is suffering at the moment. I mean, recently we learned that Guinness is selling their IP to another company. They are leaving Nigeria after 75 years. I mean, you can't have a president stumbling, making gaffes, making all these one-off decisions that don't really look like they make sense, and still have confidence that the economy is going to be as strong like in the next year, in the next 2 years. So that's why a lot of these things are actually happening. It might not be the main reason, but it's a component. Anyway, before I get into the mistakes in our national anthem, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already, and like the channel if you're enjoying the content so far. You know how sometimes some things happen in Nigeria that make you question your whole existence? Like, is it something in our blood that makes these things happen? Like, what exactly is going on? And this national anthem story I'm about to divulge is one of those things. I covered in a previous video how we're changing our national anthem back to the old one. I keep calling it the new old national anthem. Anyway, it turns out that the Nigerian National Orientation Agency released a standardized version of the national anthem, the one we're supposed to use, and it turned out it had some changes that are different from the anthem that we're supposed to be reverting to. But it seems like the person that drafted the new version of the old anthem thinks that the original composer of the anthem like didn't have sense, or that the person that originally drafted the anthem doesn't know how to speak English, even though they are actually English and they are the ones that we adopted the language from. Because the things they now changed and put in the new anthem now make the anthem more ridiculous than it was before. So let me explain what I mean. This is the national anthem as it was originally. This is the anthem as it was when we adopted it in 1960. But in the Nigerian anthem that was passed by the legislature, they decided to make some changes. In the third verse of the first stanza of the old anthem, it says, "Though tribe and tongue may differ." Probably the new drafters thought that that was a grammatical error on behalf of the English people that wrote the original anthem, and they changed it to "though tribes and tongues may differ," which doesn't really make any sense. It's kind of like a misunderstanding of what was intended by the composer. You don't need to add the plural version there, because from the way it was written, it already shows that it's a plural. Like, probably they didn't understand how anthems and poems work. Like in the original anthem, the way they wrote it meant that we have different tribes and different languages in this country. But the new standardized version now makes it look like a tribe is different from a tongue, which doesn't make sense in the context of the anthem. And in the new version, they made another mistake. In the fifth verse of the first stanza, it says, "Nigerians all am proud to serve." But in the new version, they changed it to "Nigerians all are proud to serve." It's like in the new version, they thought that each verse was like the start of a new sentence. So they kind of changed the thinking that the original guys made an error whenever they were composing thing. You didn't need to change "and" to "are" because it was a continuation of the previous line. Like in the previous line, it says, "In brotherhood we stand and proud to serve our sovereign motherland." Nigerians all was like an addendum to say like we're all Nigerian. We stand in brotherhood as Nigerians, not as these different tribes and tongues that was talked about. I'm not an English major, but this is something that we are kind of taught in the secondary school days. The funniest thing about this is that our Senate president actually came out and said that there were errors in the national anthem that was released by the National Orientation Agency. But in his statements where he said there were errors, he actually agreed with what National Orientation Agency said. It kind of didn't make sense to me. Like in the article, he was saying National Orientation Agency made errors, but he was supporting the changes that the National Orientation made in 3 and 5. But then the Senate president now also said that on the 18th verse of the third stanza, it says Nigeria may be blessed. But I think Akpabio kind of made a mistake of thinking like maybe may means is a probability thing. So he said it was supposed to be changed to Nigeria shall be blessed, making it like an active thing. But he didn't know that this was like a continuation of the previous verses, because this entire stanza is a prayer. So like say Nigeria may be blessed is like continue the prayer. So the Senate president now said that they should correct those errors that they made in the anthem, and the NOA came back and insisted that there were no errors made and the version that they put out was the correct version. In fact, in my previous video where I talked about the national anthem, the screenshot I used was from Channel's website, and they've actually changed that article. Like they've changed the lyrics to reflect what the NOA put out. So basically now all we have is like an abomination of a first stanza of the national anthem, because like the original composers, they must be rolling in their grave. Such a ridiculous series of events, and what a way to mark Democracy Day in Nigeria, like with just idiocracy. That's at this point. Anyway, tell me what you think. Have you learnt a new old national anthem? If you have, take note of changes, because You might be making a mistake and not doing it. At least try and get the right one if you have. Let me know what you think of these revelations in the comments below. Once again, I ask you to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Obi King, and I'll see you guys in the next one.